Hello there, I'm Caroline Wilson, journalist, broadcaster, commentator and podcaster. I'm here to say it now, and there's someone very special I'd like you to meet. Corrie Perkins, remember me?
My friend!
Corrie, our lives have been on an extraordinary trajectory. I think I can date it back to February, March 1979 when we met at RMIT. We were both doing the same journalism course. We were both teenagers. I was
13.
You were 9 months younger than me. I was a copy girl at the Herald. You'd just come to the age as a cadet journalist. And the minute I laid eyes on you, I wanted to be your friend. How did it begin? We both, I think, lusted after the same bloke.
You ended up marrying him, yeah, funny that.
In a sociology class.
Our dads had been friends, so we kind of spotted each other across a crowded room and we made that connection. Yeah. And then we just decided that we both hated sociology, so we would wag sociology class every week, go home to your house and watch Ivan...
Watch movies, watch old movies.
Ivan's midday classics.
In my parents' kitchen, that's absolutely right. Our journalism careers sort of continued, but probably the biggest turning point in my professional relationship was when you became a football journalist for The Age, the first woman to cover football full-time. And all that year that you covered footy, and you had a very successful year, you kept saying to me, you should do this, you'd love it, you should do it, you should do it. And I was like, maybe, whatever. Dad was president of the Richmond Football Club. Your father, Graham, a famous internationally celebrated journalist and editor with The Age, who died far too young. And he wasn't there to see you, of course, cover footy. I'm sure he would have been very proud. My father was, and the only reason I reckon I got the job in the Herald reporters' room, the sports department, was because you told my sports editor that he needed to get a woman in there, and he said there were no women at the Herald who were interested, and you gave him my name, and the rest is history.
I did. Ron Reed, I said, there is somebody in your reporters' room, I think, who would love to do that, and she is a woman. I think she'd be great. So you went on to have an amazing career, and
so did you, but not in sports journalism.
No, not in sports journalism. So I edited at The Age, doing different jobs on and off for 30 years, and then I decided, probably it was, I guess you would call it a midlife crisis or a midlife change of direction. I decided to leave journalism and I opened up a bookshop. And dare I say, one of my best clients, biggest buyers of books, sitting right here.
People often say to me, I don't know how you do it with work and family and travel and all the other hobbies and etc. that I have. Corrie Perkins, I don't know how she does it. In 2009, at a time when she was probably being advised not to start a business, she opened a bookshop. It was a wild success. It lasted for well over a decade. She actually had a second bookshop for a while. My bookshop by Corrie Perkins became a salon for all sorts of thinkers and writers and politicians and musicians, and it's managed this wonderful trajectory into Corrie's social media, which is Corrie is Reading, and her wonderful book recommendations and interviews with authors. And now it's going to have I think it's probably highlight, which is the Sorrento Writers Festival, something she's launching in April 2023 for the first time. We both worked together on the Sunday Age when the Sunday newspaper revolution happened in Melbourne and Victoria in the late 1980s. I was your bridesmaid at your first wedding in 1983?
84.
84, yeah, of course, I do remember that. And then I went overseas and lived overseas for 2.5 years. I came back and got together with my husband Brendan. You sniffed that relationship out from 10,000 miles away.
I knew on the telephone, I knew exactly who you were seeing without you telling me.
We got together, Brendan and I got married, and you were my bridesmaid. You were with me when we bought our first house. I remember very well your first house, the dinners, the recipes, the laughs, The
And it's been
Scrabble
amazing,
games
and
we've shared together.
And we've both had a girl, boy, girl. So we've both had 3 children, girl, boy, girl. And
We both bought holiday houses in the same place. You a long time before me. I tended to follow you. I followed you with the holiday house purchase. I followed you with the children.
Yeah.
We're both godmothers to each other's boys, which is really, really lovely. I'm godmother to Will. You're godmother to Ned. But I guess another major turning point that happened was over a game of Scrabble one day at the beach. You started saying we should do a podcast together. I didn't really know what podcasts were. Anyway, when Craig suggested I do a podcast with my husband Brendan, I said, I don't know about Brendan, that'd be good, but I've got another idea. And of course, we kicked off. And it was good because we were able to, we saw a lot more of each other. We already saw a lot of each other, but we saw a lot more of each other because we had to get together and come up with ideas every week. We found a lot of common ground. We found a lot of uncommon ground. We have had a lot of healthy disagreements. Over
like
the
today
years.
we had one as well. Over who would have thought we would be fighting over trench coats?
If I have to thank you for things, I suppose I've got to thank you for my journalism career and for encouraging me to work in sport when I never really had any great ambition to do it. I went into journalism to be a script writer. That plan went horribly wrong.
You could still do that. There's an old adage that surrounds journalism, which is the good journalist is the one that shines the light in dark corners. And I think some people forget what that actually means. Sometimes the dark corners are very dark and they can take journalists into very scary places. And my friend Caroline Wilson not only is always prepared to go into those dark places, but she sticks with the story no matter how hard, how tough or how demanding it is.
When I was lucky enough to get a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Melbourne Press Club last year in 2021, you made the most beautiful comments about me and I really appreciated it, so thank you.
Would you like me to repeat them now?
No, you don't have
can.
to. No, you don't have to. They're recorded
Caro.
for posterity, happily.
Caro, and look, it has been such a long journey. I just remember those first few months, not a natural academic here by any means. And I was 17 and I was working at the Age and I thought this was the most exciting thing. Why did we have to study? And to go to RMIT and to meet you, like-minded soul, let's get out of here, let's go to the pub. Or go home and watch Ivan's Midday Classics, which nobody else was doing, I can tell you. But from day one, we have talked and talked and we haven't stopped. And it is incredible how, it's bizarre really, how our lives have moved like this and copied one another. We've even lived in the same suburbs at different times. We've just had so much in common. And those are the things, the ties that bind. But also, I think, as you said earlier, other ties that bind us are the things that we don't have in common. And that's where true friendship comes out, when you can listen to one another with respect and interested in what the other person is saying. And you've always been so naturally curious, and you might disagree with me about some things. I remember you saying once I was too harsh on Donald Trump, who has the last laugh. But
I never said that. I said you spoke about him too much.
But even today, you know, on the podcast, we were talking about, do you buy a trench coat or not? Do you waste your money? And you still listen and you engage and you take it right up to me, and I'm constantly tested and constantly surprised by our conversations. And so, you know, pretty incredible. You're a pretty incredible person.
Thank you, Corrie.
I'm very lucky to have you in my life.
And you are too. I can't think of anyone I would rather sit on a kitchen bench with and share a cup of tea. Right now.